What's going on, guys? It's the Money Talk Show with Dane, where we talk about all sorts of interesting topics having to do with money, particularly crypto and real estate here. So if those are topics that interest you, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, make sure you like Corey's channel, you subscribe to his. We've got all sorts of just killer content coming your way. We're in the midst of a crypto bear market. Real estate could have lots more pain this year. And we are doing our best to bring you the information so that you can thrive amidst negative externalities. So pumped to be here. Corey is excellent. Corey, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, Corey Geary. The name of the YouTube is Crypto Millionaires with Corey Geary. Yeah, please subscribe and like all this. And just happy to be here, man. Just a real estate guy converting over to crypto. You know, real estate was great to me in the first leg of my journey of creating wealth. And I feel like crypto is the next leg in that journey for me. And I want to bring as many friends along for this ride as I possibly can to educate them what I feel like is going to be the next great transfer of wealth. And it's really just going to change the world. I think that's crypto, man. I just think it's a most beautiful asset class, and we got to respect it as such. So, yeah, man, happy to be here.
Yeah, this will be fun. So I don't know how this stream wasn't more well known or tweeted or shared, but I woke up this morning, I was thumbing through Twitter, and it appears like Richard was on a stream with with another guy. I don't even know the guy's name. Let's see, with Greg. I don't know this guy Greg, but apparently he was on stream with Greg yesterday talking about Pulsechain a little bit and other things. And we have a clip from Richard talking about a potential time frame for Pulsechain V3 announcement. So I'm going to share that here momentarily. Before we do, though,
I didn't get to see this, and I'm usually pretty tapped in.
Usually you beat me to it, but I didn't catch it short. But before we do, we appreciate those of you that are tuning in. Go ahead and comment where you're watching in from today. We love to see who we're reaching out and who's following us this morning. We've got Harmonic Hexagon on. Always appreciate you tuning in. She's on a lot of our shows in the morning, so appreciate you being in here. And we talked about the Power City fork of liquidity for PulseX yesterday. So if you missed that show, it was, oh man, it was good yesterday. We're gonna have Just Ask Jesse on from the Power City team. It might be tomorrow. Let me double check.
It's Thursday.
Was it Thursday?
I think it's scheduled for Thursday, and then we have Randy Hilarski scheduled for Monday.
That's right. You're right. Thursday for just Ask Jesse, and then Randy next week. So that'll be a lot of fun. Yeah. We've got Trevor in from Iowa. Welcome, Trevor. Trevor's in our private group. Trevor's excellent. So if you guys are looking for community or looking for a private group where people are digging in, they're actually doing the work, sharing what they're doing. There's so many of these people on that want to like give you narratives that frankly just aren't true to try to pump their bags while they dump on you. You know, you need to find the places where people will tell you the truth. So if that's something that you're interested in, we're the bridge, or we're doing our best to be between crypto and real estate. So we've got guys in there that want to allocate money towards real estate, and from their crypto gains, we've got lots of real estate guys in there that can, you know, put money to work and are learning about crypto as we speak. So if you are interested in a community like that, go ahead and comment on the video or send us a message, and we'd be happy to chat more about it with you. So without further ado, in fact, this will be interesting. I've never shown a stream on while we are streaming. We're going to see if this works.
Let's try it, man.
All right, let's do it. All right, let me pull this over here. All right, you can see my screen, right?
I can see it. Yeah.
All right. Let's see if we get the audio.
Yes, look, I want to talk about projects.
Can you hear the audio?
From your speaker, yes.
Yeah. So look, let me ask you about this.
Is it loud enough that you can hear it? What's going on in the stream?
Not really.
Gosh, dang it.
Not really.
Let me turn it up. Let me try this.
Econ City is supposed to be built. It's not built. What's going? So I know Pulse. Let's talk about Pulse.
Can you hear it or no?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, barely. I can hear it though.
What is going on with Pulse after the sacrifice? Is it because it's a bear market, you don't want to launch? Is it ready? Like what will you launch in a bear market if the software's done? Let's start there.
Yeah.
Okay,
We're closer to the end than the beginning of the bear.
We are,
And the
but
coin's going to launch with 0 value anyway. So it's starting at 0. So what's the big deal? What's it going to fall from 0?
so all that sacrificing, you're saying we don't know. It's starting from 0. The value could be anything.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's starting at 0.
So to me, that
has
is
no value at launch.
So to
And
me,
then,
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
well, the status is quite simply we're basically done refactoring all the integers to fit our larger by, I think, 1 million X supply over Ethereum, which blew out most of the storage slots. So, you know, we were happy to launch with, I think, Geth and Prism as our primary clients for consensus and execution. However, we discovered that the most popular and good block explorer requires Lighthouse and Aragon. And so we also had to do all the integer expansions for Lighthouse and Aragon. And so probably we're going to be supporting 4 clients off the bat. Those 4: Prism, Lighthouse, Aragon, Geth. And so they just finished the expansion for the slots on Aragon and Lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
And that will allow us to launch probably V3.
So what is it?
Hold on. Can you still hear it? Is it really faint? You can hear it?
We
Okay.
can still hear it. Yep.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
They're going garbage.
Ballpark.
So the guy just asked if you missed it. He just asked Richard when is Pulsechain V3, and Richard is slow rolling him and saying, "Oh, I don't know, I'm terrible at this," but then he gives a little bit.
Weeks, 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
I guess
not like 6 months.
Be next week.
Not 12 months.
I mean, this shit is like, in my opinion, very close to launch. But caveat: every time estimate I've ever had has been wrong.
Okay.
And I've been warning about that forever because, you know, my devs give me estimates and then they're wrong. And then I give you estimate and then I'm wrong because they're wrong. I don't really have any estimate of my own. But I mean, I guess this isn't from devs. This one is from me. I'm just guessing this one.
No, listen, I like that.
Okay, so they go on to talk about. I'll move this over here. So they go on thereafter and they talk about some additional, like how software is hard and all that type of stuff. But I thought that was interesting. Richard is, so the first thing that he's saying is that they would launch in a bear, and specifically he feels like the bear market, the end of it, we're closer to the end than the beginning of the bear market. So that's bullish. And then he gave really rough. He said, hey, like 3 weeks, but I don't know. It could be next week. So I don't know, man. I think he thinks that version 3 is pretty freaking close. What are your thoughts?
I feel like he's probably kind of accurate with it too, because, you know, he's been wrong so many times. I think he's probably in the know with this one. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, man, if we see it in 1 to 3 weeks, because all the action that we've seen on GitHub, all the updating, all the devs that come out and they're talking about it, and all the just everything that's going on. It's there's a new light being shined from the inside of the Pulsechain ecosystem or being development. There's just all this stuff that's coming out, and I feel like he might be right, man. We might see V3 1 to 3 weeks. So I mean, obviously DCA, don't ape in. It's never my recommendation if you're trying to, you know, establish a bag of hex. I've been DCAing for the last 2 or 3 months into hex, getting some good strong positions for my market cycle stakes. So it's still maybe a good idea to DCA. I wouldn't, you know, because we don't know what could happen. Is with 3 weeks come and he could be like, you know what, guys, it's not launching right now, and then we're going to see a big dump, you know, a sell-off for hex, you know, and it could drop below that 1.8. So that's why I always recommend just DCA. And that way, if it does launch, you got a piece of the action. If it doesn't, then, you know, you still have some dry powder, some economic energy on the sidelines. So, you know, never put your eggs all in one basket, or aping in. It's always the wrong answer. But, man, this is massive. I'm super excited. I mean, I'm going to beat on this thing, dude, like no other. I can't wait, you know. We should have a V3 party.
We should, seriously. We'll do a dope live stream when that happens. But a couple of things that you mentioned that I really like. So the first is that Richard did last time Richard gave a time frame, he was slaughtered. He was crucified when it was wrong. And so the fact that he's willing to give, and he said it again, he's like, I could be wrong. But the fact that he's willing to come out with something that's a relatively tight time frame. So maybe we're getting pretty freaking close to V3. That's exciting. And then two, like you're saying, I think is really smart. If you're buying Hex and you're somebody that's invested in Hex like we are, then I think it makes a ton of sense to be dollar cost averaging in, because God forbid if Richard's wrong and 3 weeks comes and he's like, oh, we've got more delays or whatever, we absolutely could see Hex price down, and it would be unfortunate 100%. To be all out of dry powder if that were to occur.
You have these impatient people who are going to basically ape in, and then when Richard comes out in 3 weeks, he's going to be like, okay, it's another 3 weeks. You know what I mean?
Right.
Those impatient people are going to get pissed off, and they're going to dump. And like we've seen it over and over again. And so like just, DCA is always the answer, man. I don't know any other way to play this game besides DCA. I just don't. I wish I had other answers. You can't time anything, and we don't know. And so let's just, but you want to catch a piece of the action just in case. So DCA, get in, get your feet wet. Just don't dive in the deep end yet, but get your feet wet.
So for you guys that are watching the show, the next thing we're going to talk about is, do you think that Hex pumps with the launch of version 3 Pulsechain testnet? Post in the comments what you guys think. Corey and I are going to go through kind of our thoughts, and we love your input as we're going through this topic. I think it's a fascinating one. But before we do that, we got some more people in. Red Squirrel. Hey, what's up, Red Squirrel? In fact, Red Squirrel, we need to have you on the show. So we'll be reaching
your game theory and crazy maps and strategies, bro. Like I love your stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for playing this. There's always so much to watch. That's true.
Harmonic Hexakin, I missed this one somehow, and I always catch all of them. Like I'm like on point. I'm up to like 12 in the morning, every night, and somehow I missed this one. It's funny.
Audio is all right. Appreciate the feedback.
Human head trafficker. He's here in Phoenix with me.
Oh, really? Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, we're local together. So.
Oh, that's interesting. Someone on Twitter, this was recorded some time ago, so maybe sooner than later rocket ship testnet. Oh, is that so? Like this is old news?
Someone on Twitter, this was recorded some time ago, so maybe sooner than later rocket ship testnet. How do we know how long ago it was recorded or what time frame it was from?
It was posted 17 hours ago. So maybe by this dude. It's the channel is by Intercoin. The guy that's interviewing Richard in this stream is like an Intercoin. I'm not sure if he's a founder or what his role in Intercoin is, but they're talking about the roadmap of this token called Intercoin. If you guys know differently, I'd love for you to post it in the comments. From what I could tell, and Gamma was the one tweeting it out this morning, I respectfully think that's not accurate. I think this is literally just recent, but I could be wrong. So grain of salt.
Yeah.
Josh is on. Josh is awesome. Josh is one of our really good friends. He's in Utah with me. What's up, Josh? Corey's in.
Oh, here we go.
Corey and Dane just tapping in.
We need to have Corey, an investor, on sometime, man. This guy's OG crypto. He's been in the game for a while. He's been in Hex, I think it's day one or some close, and he does a lot. He's the guy who does all the rap songs.
For the
Hex community. Yeah, so we gotta have
the astronaut guy dancing around and stuff, or was that something else?
It might be. I don't know if I've seen the videos that are related to it. You always just go on Twitter or YouTube and you can listen to it. But yeah, we got to have him on. So
yeah, for sure, that'd be great. Pulse2, what's up, Pulse2? Really enjoyed some of the stuff that you guys have put out over there. That's been fun. I've enjoyed the Pulse information, so appreciate you guys tuning in today. Josh says yes, there will be some type of pump. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Pulse2. Could be a sell the news event, but because we've dumped so much already, I'm thinking it'll be pump. I think that's both of those comments are really interesting. Red Squirrel says, rumor that the video that we showed earlier that it was recorded on the 18th. Oh, that is very interesting. So that was like
18th of this month?
Of this month, I think. BTC was 21K. If that's the case, then freaking Richard would be like 3 weeks next week. That's interesting information. Yeah, that's interesting. We'll see.
How did the whole community miss this interview?
I haven't heard anything about it. Are we just out of the have you guys seen this stream? Comment below if you've seen it, the little video clip that we showed. I haven't seen it. Oh, interesting. In the video, RH says Bitcoin was at 21K. Okay. I don't know how this one got missed.
What is Bitcoin right now? 23?
That's what I'm looking at. Bitcoin's at 20,
right now.
over
23. Bitcoin right now is 3,124 is what is trading view right now. So yeah, that could have been 3 weeks ago. That feels about right. Bitcoin was going up at that time. Huh.
Interesting. So we might be just around the corner if that's accurate. Cool. Okay, we're not the only ones. Red Squirrel's dialed in too. Only found out recently about this stream. Okay. Interesting. Cool. Well, let's dive into we got more of some of my Utah guys. What's up, Gen Hex? Appreciate you tuning in. Once again, appreciate all you guys tuning in. If you missed earlier, post where you're from. We love to see where you guys are tuning in from. It's fun to see people. We've got people from all over the world oftentimes tuning in. So the next thing we're going to talk about, if you hadn't heard this, is we're going to talk about and go through our thoughts of whether or not we think Hex will pump with version 3 of Pulsechain testnet release. So post in the comments below what do you guys think? Do you think we're going to see a pump? PulseTube asks, are you streaming on 2 channels? We are. Yep. So Corey and I are both streaming. Make sure that you go and like both videos, like both channels. We appreciate all that type of stuff. You guys are really helpful.
Corey, an investor, has his comments. He says, not sure if we'll see a pump during testnet, but we may hit that bottom when the testnet is released.
That's an interesting point.
That is very interesting.
So Corey, an investor, comment. I'm curious on a little follow up on this. So, do you think that V3 launches and we see a dump? Do you think the opposite? Because I think a lot of people are thinking it's a guaranteed pump, but it sounds like maybe you're thinking dump, or maybe the dump happens after some of the euphoria of V3 wears off, and maybe Richard hasn't launched mainnet, and we're in June. I'd love more commentary there. So, Corey Geary, what are your thoughts? So what do you think we see Hex price action do once we have V3 launch?
Well, I mean, I think it does pump because every time we see like KDP get on there and start tweeting about, test now, doing the live Twitters, we always see a tiny little pump, and that just because it could just be, I don't know, for whatever reason. But I mean, we've seen all through this cycle, even in the bear market, anytime Richard Hart came out, any kind of news, we see a pump in Hex. Now, it could be that the market's so exhausted that people are out of economic energy because we are in a bear market, right? That it just doesn't do much. Maybe Corey's right. Maybe it pumps a little 2 or 3x, and then you see this massive sell-off and buy the rumor, sell the news, and it just tumbles down to like 1 cent. I don't know, but I definitely think we see something when V3 gets announced. Now we thought this going into the Hedron auctions.
Yes, so that's the parallel I want to talk about here.
And we didn't see anything. I felt like, but maybe the pump was early on in the Hedron auctions, and then like while we're waiting for it, it was at 5 zeros and 3, but that was the pump. Because now it's at 5 zeros, 1 5. And the pump was a 2 or 3x from that, right? And that was a pump. We saw that way earlier than we anticipated. I think maybe 3 or 4 earlier. And then by the time we come up to the auctions, we saw no activity whatsoever in Hedron. And then the auction started. And then after the auction started, we saw the sell off all the way down to where we're at now. We're at, it sold off down to 501. I think at the lowest it went is 609 and some change. And now we're at 5015. And that could be also a little bit of a pump preparing for the February auctions, because as everyone knows who's following this ecosystem, the second round of HSI stakes happens, I think, I don't know, and you know, Dane, I think it's the second week of February, the second round.
I want to say it's like the 9th. I could be wrong on that. I think it's like somewhere between the 9th and the 12th. I was watching a stream with Gifford and Sloth last night. That was great. And
okay, I love both those guys. Yeah.
And I could be wrong, but it's sometime in February. It's earlier February, if I'm not mistaken. And that'll be when there's a bunch of new HSIs that were recycled from the first round, pumped back into the ecosystem that you can go and bid on. So if you want to buy a T shares, that might be an opportunity for you to take advantage of.
It will be, guys. I would recommend at least put your eyes onto the auctions. I mean, not necessarily you have to participate, but man, that first round, there was such an influx of HSIs. Now we had waited a couple of days before participating, but man, got in there late at night, and after a couple of days of people kind of burning through their economic energy, we were able to pick up some really cheap T shares. I mean, I picked up a ton at like between 1 cent and 1.2 cents cost basis. Just a ton of them. And they're HSI, so in the future you can, get turned to ICOSA if you wanted to and stake your ICOSA. You could sell them on OpenSea if you wanted to. You got options, right, with your HSIs, which is what I love about them. Or you can keep them, for the 15-year duration of the stake if you're a long-term holder and believer. So it's like you have those options with those HSI stakes. So guys, don't sleep on ICOSA and the auctions, because man, I picked up some deep discounted stakes, and I know you got a couple too, Dane. And so
I think your best one was like 70% off, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
70% discount at the time. Yeah, because Hex was hovering around I think Hex was hovering around the 3 cent range at the time. And right now it's not far off. We're at 2.7 or so, 2.6, 2.7. So I mean, yeah, guys, it's just if you're a firm believer of the T-share system, get in there, man, and look at what's going on, because Alex built something amazing for us. And like I said, even if you're not a long-term believer, you can turn into ICOSA and play that game. It's like there's something for everybody. It's something there for the long-term believers and something there for the short-term believers.
Right. And quick auction hack. There's been some of these poor guys on Twitter that like fat fingered too many, like an extra zero, and they way overpaid. So one of the tricks that I've used is we've been bidding on these, is I'll run my cursor over, I'll copy the current bid, I'll paste that in where I need to go and bid it up. And then I can backspace one character and increase it a little bit or whatever I'm going to do. That way you don't have too many characters. You're not really screwing the pooch. So hopefully that's helpful.
There was a lot of people who did that, man. I was seeing it all over Twitter, people crying about it. I mean, 1-0, man, you're talking about, think about it. 1-0 from $1,000 is $10,000.
Oh, you're paying 10x too much for one? Oh,
1-0.
That's like buying the top.
So you got to be careful with that, guys. Now I like your strategy, Dane. I'm going to implement that on my next round. But man, I would double count the zeros to make sure I'm submitting the right bid before I submitted. Because the problem with the HSI auctions, and once you submit the bid, you can't undo it. Even if you realize you messed up, you're like, it's going in. And if you overpaid by a 10x, no one's gonna outbid you.
Yeah, agreed. Nobody. You are winning that one. You're winning that one.
Unfortunately.
Yes, unfortunately. All right. Harmonic Hex can ask a great question. Do you think it's better to stack dry powder and buy PHEX on launch instead of DCAing now? I think this is a great question, and I think Corey and I, in fact, we might vary a little bit on this one. So Corey and I are big on when there's narratives that everybody believes, those tend not to be true. They tend not to happen. And so what's the narrative in the Hex community right now with Pulsechain? Well, everyone and their dog is saying to buy Hex for the free copy and then swap all your P-Hex for Pulsechain or PulseX. If everyone is doing that, well, what happens to the ratio? What happens to the ratio over on PulseX? The Pulsechain and the Hex ratio. Well, I can tell you it gets poor very fast, which means that if you're not person 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, well, all of a sudden the amount of Hex that you have to exchange for Pulsechain becomes much greater. I should say your swap, the Pulsechain, becomes infinitely more expensive. And so neither Corey nor I are real big fans of that strategy. It might have been a great strategy when we all thought Pulsechain was going to launch in May because, it was new and not everybody knew about it. But gosh, I can promise you we are not doing that. So, so as far as what I'm doing, I can't tell you what to do. And once again, there's no financial advice on this show, but we can talk about what we're doing and what our strategies are. I can tell you for me, what I'm doing is I'm going to be holding, I'm going to be primarily holding stables. And I can, I'm not going to get much value out of those stables in the swap, which is fine. But I'm going to swap those stables and get as much value as I can early on. And then I'm going to have that to bridge in after the ratio trading. And I can start my dollar cost averaging. It's almost never a good idea to ape into something. So you want to be wise about that. And I think the play is to do the opposite of what everybody else is saying. If you believe in Hex, I think you'll be able to scoop up Hex for potentially an insane price during the ratio trading if you're willing to swap some Pulsechain or PulseX for it. So we both think that's the play. Do you have anything else you want to add to that, Corey?
Yeah, I'll add some crazy math to this that people can go and research on their own to kind of prove it to themselves what we're talking about is true. If we assume that we are diluting 1 million pulse to Ethereum, which we heard Richard Hart just say it on that last stream that we're playing, and then we just talking about ratios, and we're going to fork Ethereum just the way it stands now, except for we're plugging in that 1 million pulse to Ethereum ratio. If you go and do the ratio from Hex to Ethereum right now, and then if you go off the cost basis of what you sacked for, and let's just use 0.301, I did the math the other day, the ratio will start out at 0.002 cost basis for P Hex if you're swapping in from the beginning. Now, let's say everybody is swapping that trade because that's the narrative. What you want to do, or what I'm doing, not what you want to do, this is not financial advice. What I'll be doing is I'll be sitting and watching. So it launches. And so right before Richard brings the bridge in, right before that time could be a good time because people have been dumping Hex for Pulse and PulseX for those 48 hours or how many hours he plans on doing it. I think the last time was it could have changed, but I think they
24 to 48 hours. Yeah.
24 to 48 hours. Watch what your cost basis is for your ratio trade on Pulse to Hex or PulseX to Hex, and you're going to watch that ratio trade dump. Basically, you're going to be acquiring more Hex for your PulseX. I think we could see an opportunity that we could get Hex for 0.001. Somewhere in that range on the cost basis from your sacrifice amount. Meaning that if you weren't a day one Hetzikin or somewhere around that day one Hetzikin, this could be your opportunity one more time, the last time probably, that you could get Hex at that deep discounted price and pick up just a massive amount of, T-shares, for us market cycle stakes, or if you're a long-term believer, a staking ladder. So I just think it's going to be an amazing opportunity. That would only last, in my opinion, probably a little bit pre-bridge. Once the bridge comes in, I feel like a lot of people will be bridging in new economic energy. You still might be able to catch X at a deep discount. But I don't know if you want to catch it, if you're able to catch it at that 0.001 or maybe even lower. Can you imagine if we get down to the 3 zeros, like 0.305 or something, because dumping it off for Pulse and Pulse? I think there's an opportunity for that. So, during those 48 hours, be checking the ratio. You got to know how to check the ratios, though, guys. If you don't know how to check the numbers against each other and figure out the cost basis, then don't participate.
We'll do a show on that. That's a great idea. We should do a show on that.
We should do a show on that. You're really good with that too, Dane, on the spreadsheets. And maybe we should do a spreadsheet, break one out, and talk about if dilute Ethereum to 1 million Pulse at Ethereum and what it looks like for that hex ratio to Ethereum, because we're forking Ethereum in its system state as it is now. So for what we know, unless Richard changed stuff after the fork, which, in the liquidity pools, which of course he can, we're just assuming pre-bridge, we're going to be rocking and rolling with the same ratios. So that's one of my strategies. Other than that, harmonic hexakin, I think dry powder is one of your best strategies for acquiring, Pulse, Peaks, or any of that, after that bridge comes in. I am also in the camp. I go against the grain on everything, where everyone thinks the narrative is that E-Hex and P-Hex are going to reach parity and they're going to rock and roll and sell to the sunset in parity forever. That is not my opinion. I do believe in Hart's Law, but I do know one thing that's stronger than Hart's Law, and that's buy and sell pressure. Buying pressure in the market is stronger than Hart's Law, even though Hart's Law is there. So I think E-Hex will have value in the future, but I do not believe it's giving the same value as P-Hex. I believe P-Hex will be the real hex. It will be where most people and the believers of this ecosystem are going to navigate to. That is my opinion. I have no idea what's going to happen. It could be parity for the rest of eternity. Who knows? But you got to come up with your own thesis, right? Your own, and then be prepared to, if it doesn't happen that way, because that's why I'm doing some large market cycle stakes now that I've been staying into, because I could be wrong about all this. So that way I got a bag over here against my own narrative.
You can play both sides of the coin.
Yeah, because we don't know what's going to happen. I don't. And I know I'm not going to go all in on one way, even though it's against what's the common narrative. I'm not going to go all in that way either. It's just we don't know.
Right. And also, so here's another, it's easy to get off topic, but I like the direction we're rolling. So with this question, so here's another thought that Corey and I have talked a lot about between ourselves. We haven't talked a lot about it on these shows, but if you consider the economic energy of how much was sacrificed for Pulsechain and PulseX, there was a lot more than Hex early on, that's for sure. And one of the reasons that Hex price appreciation was able to be so strong was because the liquidity was thin. It started out with, I think, like 5,000 members, and it grew astronomically. We are starting with far greater amount of people interested in Pulsechain and PulseX. And so theoretically, both of these could be a lot heavier. And it'll largely depend on how Richard and his team decide how to inject the liquidity when the AMM bot goes and harvests all the liquidity. If I just lost you, that's a little bit more of an advanced topic. Don't worry about it so much. But long story short, I think Hex is interesting on Pulsechain because the liquidity there, unless, once again, depending upon how Richard and the AMM bot, how they choose to inject the liquidity there, Hex might be the lighter token, and it might be the one that can appreciate harder. Also, like, frankly, if you're bringing people into the Hex ecosystem, well, are you going to onboard them on Ethereum or over on Pulsechain? Well, I can tell you for me, like, I wouldn't send them to Ethereum. I would send them all to Pulsechain. Why would I not? And people are like, oh, well, there will be arbitrage and maybe the price will be better and the staking yield better on Ethereum. Well, that's great. But you've got to have large stakes in order to offset the gas costs when you go and do that. So for most people, once again, just my opinion, not financial advice, but it will be far easier for people to pick up and understand Hex and be able to roll with it over on Pulsechain, where they're not going to get slaughtered in gas fees. And so this is different than what I thought earlier, because frankly, I think we'll get better yield with PulseX single-sided staking than we will with hex staking. I just think it'll be a lot better yield. Pulsechain is the L1. Everybody loves an L1. It's a lot easier to understand a layer 1 blockchain and a decentralized exchange than it is to understand hex for a lot of people. And so I think adoption on both of those will be far greater. But Corey said it a number of times, Pulsechain is being built largely for hex. It's being built largely for hex. And so we don't know how any of that's going to pan out. But gosh, I want some of all three so that I'm hedged either way.
Yeah, have all three. That's the, once again, we never know. So, but diversification is the answer to not knowing.
Right. Absolutely. Cool. We've got lots of guys tuning in. If I missed you, I apologize. But we've got Jason in here from Dallas, Texas. Oh, I love Dallas. Corey and I are going to be in Houston later this weekend, speaking at a real estate conference on Friday to help real estate guys understand crypto. We're doing our part to bring more people into the ecosystem. So that'll be
We're on a mission.
Yes.
To bring real estate entrepreneurs into our space, and mainly the Richard Hart ecosystem. Now, if they want to venture out a little bit outside that, that's fine, but that's the space we're educating on. So
absolutely. We've got Red Squirrel. What's up, Red Squirrel again? Tin Top. Tin Top's always on. Appreciate you jumping in, Tin Top. Thank you, Red Squirrel, for clarifying. Driving, couldn't respond. Yeah, that was great. Tin Top, let's see. Did Hex pump when V2B launched? If yes, we pump.
Yes.
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
Hex is pumped on every single news event that RH has done. And Hex has responded negatively too. When RH said, I don't know if you remember this, because I remember quite well, and I'm sure everyone in the audience does. I was at the grocery store. I was at the Chinese grocery store with my wife. And it sucks. I couldn't get to my computer fast enough. And RH announced that it won't launch in May. It was after May, and he announced we're not launching anywhere near this time limit. We have way more work that we got to do. That we're not close. And he did it in a tweet. And I don't remember the exact verbiage he used in the tweet, but it was basically saying, "Hey, the mid-May thing's out the window, right?" And I was in the grocery store, man, and I remember watching the chart on my phone, and I could not react because the whales were dumping off Hex millions. It was just a slaughter. And I think that was when we went from around 12 cents at that time all the way down to like 4 cents or 5 cents. I mean, it was a huge drop off. And so we react positively to everything he says, and we react negatively to everything. That's also why I only want a DCA in right now, because we could have the reverse effect come, when 2 weeks come, or when he'd be like, "Oh, we're another 3 weeks out," and then this is gonna make everyone mad. And they're gonna dump it.
Right. Right. Now, and the one caveat to that is with the PulseX sacrifice. Man, I freaking played my cards wrong on that. I thought that Hex would continue to run through the sack like it did with Pulsechain. And it didn't. First day was the day to sack if you're sacrificing Hex, and then price went boo, and it fell off. And so, like Corey said, if you're DCAing, you mitigate risk. And I can't tell you how many times in the last few years that I thought that I freaking knew what was going to happen, and I went big at one point in time, and then it did the opposite. And so just be wise about how you're approaching things.
Yeah, if you're going to play by the rumor, sell the news event, which I get why you want to do it, but like be careful with that strategy, because we just don't know. Like you said, we're the one you had Hex pumping all the way through Pulsechain, and then the PulseX, it kind of started dumping before, which to Corey's point, maybe it does do that, because that's what happened with PulseX. Kind of, it dumped after the news came out. Might be a slight pullback, but I think the dump has happened. Now the market may have one last dump, but I believe the big bags have dumped already. Deal one. Small bags won't affect the price. My point of view. I hope you're right, Corey. I hope DO1 was the last capitulation candle down. Perhaps it's hard to say. I would love to see that, because, like I said, I've got my bags I'm happy with my bags for the next market cycle. I would like to do a little bit on the buy the rumors though, if we see that happen. But it once again, guys, that's more that's trading. Buy the rumors, sell the news is trading, and trading can get you wrecked. Just full disclosure on that, man. It can get you wrecked.
Absolutely.
So,
Guy, what's up, Guy? Happy you're tuning in. Simon, what's up, Simon? Did RH really say that? Yeah, Simon. So if you guys are just tuning in, go back and you can watch. In fact, you can watch the stream at like 2x if you want. But earlier in the show, we shared a clip that it appears like this was taken a few weeks ago, where Richard was talking about how they're potentially a week to 3 weeks at the time of recording for Pulsechain version 3 testnet. So pretty exciting times.
how do we miss that for 3 weeks? Are you sure not an AI bot? Someone went to Chat GPT and made some kind of AI and put it out there to mess with the community.
Right. Dude, one thing I want to bring up though, and I just find this fascinating. So KDP has been like just a beast tweeting out updates. I've really appreciated her approach to things too. When she's been wrong, she's owned it. And she's been really clear that when she shared opinions, she's like, look, I could be wrong. But some of these other people who will not be named on this show have been wrong over and over and over. Oh, Pulsechain's going to launch in 3. Come on. It's going to launch in 3 hours. Come on, man. Like, just don't. It's just not useful information. I don't understand. And then they want to act all hurt when people call them on it. And I'm like, why is everybody so mean? Come on, don't be a bitch about this. Like, you were wrong. Just freaking own it. So my 2 cents, be careful about who you're following out there on social media. There's a lot of people that have no idea what they're talking about. They're just trying to farm engagement. So be careful out there.
You mean Hex is not going to $900,000 per coin?
Those freaking guys. What a bunch of idiots. Oh my gosh. Come on. $9,000 next cycle. What? Just so stupid.
Yeah.
All right. What else we got here? What up, boys? Bird Dog's on. Bird Dog's local here in Utah, if I'm not mistaken. What's up, Bird Dog?
Nice.
There is a bid max on the auctions. Bids all your Hedron. LOL.
I know. Red Squirrel. I don't know why Alex put that in there. Like, what if you got 100 billion on in your wallet, you can bid max, and it's like
Can you imagine fat fingering that? Oh, that would hurt.
I'm sure somebody has.
Oh, you know they have.
They get on there, they're maybe a little intoxicated, they want to try to win some HSIs, and like what happens? They wake up in the morning like, where did my 40 billion heat go?
You're intoxicated. It's probably not the most optimal time.
He has to be doing crypto. Oh, yeah. That's a fact.
Corey says, I would not try and trade Pulsechain or Pulsex for at least the first 3 to 6 months. I'll wait for everyone to dump. And in a bull cycle, we may have less dumpers. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable approach. And in fact, Corey and anybody else that has any insights on this. So if you look, I need to freaking post the video that I made last year. My freaking other YouTube channel got taken down, but I posted a video where I did all the research about how layer 1 blockchains performed, both their ICO price, what they launched at, and how they did over the first little bit. In my research, everything that's a meaningful layer 1 blockchain, besides Polkadot, launched and saw a significant dump, and that ranged anywhere from about 18 days to 90 days. And so the information that I gathered, unless you think this is a Polkadot event, it made a whole lot of sense to be dollar cost averaging your way in, or potentially even just staying out of the game and building positions after, some time had passed. So,
yep, I have a 90-day DCA strategy. And if we see over, I think it's over, I wrote it down, and I think if we see over a 20x or a 50, maybe I got to look at my white paper again that I wrote down. Yeah, I'm not participating in the DCA until we see corrections going back down. And so I've written out my strategy. I encourage everyone on here to write a strategy out, so that way you have something to reference to when your emotions are getting you at your best. So you got to be careful of the game emotions, and that's why FOMO is real, and so is FUD. So like, you write your strategy down so you have something to follow when you're getting all worked up.
Right. Luke asks, I'm assuming I should say RH says 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah. So go back earlier in the video. We had a clip that we shared, and you can go and see where he's talking about that. Apparently, that video was made in the middle of the month, so we might be very near that 3-week time frame. Once again, Richard has been wrong on that a lot of the time, so don't bet the farm on those guesses. Oh gosh, this is something that I have not considered. Remember that just because Richard isn't going to open a bridge to Pulsechain in the first couple of days doesn't mean someone else won't do it extremely quickly.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about that before. Yeah, I don't know how what that would do, man. That would change to the dynamics of everything, because it means it's that.
Oh, everything. You get price, you get dollar value associated with everything.
Yeah, it's almost like a black swan event happening right in the beginning of the ecosystem, and so like, yeah, you have to. Red Squirrel is a good point up, because you have to like think something can happen where you had no clue is going to happen, like a black swan or some kind of like a totally, we don't know. This has never been done before, and yeah, it's interesting. I would be very cautious though, guys. If someone did a third party bring a bridge in, I would not be willing to use that bridge. If someone had developed a bridge,
oh yeah, be freaking careful out there.
Let them bring their money in through that bridge. Okay, maybe that's why they developed it. But like, if you go and bridge in your money, remember these bridges that they hold your tokens in a smart contract, and they print you like the wrapped version, which is like, imagine you go to the casino and you get in your $100 to the cashier, and they give you $100 in chips. That's kind of like a bridge. And imagine at that point the casino gets shut down or robbed, and they take all the money. You're left with those chips, and you can't change in money again. That's happening to bridges all the time. It's happened in Solana multiple times. And so be careful. If someone comes in, some third party, we don't know who they are, and they bring a bridge in, like how's the code look on that bridge? We don't know unless you're the dev making that bridge, or you're a dev yourself and you know how to check that bridge on the fly to see if it's legit. Just be very careful, guys, with this stuff.
Can you imagine if you're a scammer? That'd be a great way to try to
kind
of liquidity.
Oh my gosh, get everyone's money and then run. You pull it and run. I mean, I will not be using any third-party bridges, especially out of the gate. I'm going to wait for Richards. I mean, Richards is coming in 24 to 48 hours. You can't wait 24 to 48 hours to play the game. You got problems.
Yes. So, you probably shouldn't be playing.
Let's just wait for the legitimate bridge to come in. I'm sure there'll be other bridges down the road that could be good, like Power Cities. Power Cities is going to create something amazing in the ecosystem. And so, yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, Corey agrees. That's a fact, Corey. We don't know, but we're playing the game. Playing the game. It's a freaking fun game to play.
It is, man. I'm just going to play all the cards.
Right.
Let it out. So one of them's got to be right.
Yeah, one of them's got to be right. Ben makes a reasonable point. V3 doesn't mean anything. There still could be a V4. I would disagree with this. Richard has said time and time again he's been off on his time frame calls for Pulsechain launch, which he's not good at that, which is fine. But he's said over and over and over, well, maybe I'm misquoting. Has Richard said that there was going to be, or I should say, it is largely believed in the community that this will be the last version of testnet before we go to mainnet. And so, yeah, absolutely. Could there be more versions? Certainly. It'll be interesting to see.
But I know why Ben's saying this, and I've seen the opposite, of these narratives of V3 is the last one. We're forking ETH 2.0 now, and the previous version testnets were off the BSC fork and not the ETH fork. So this is kind of like V1 in a way. That's why he's saying that. This is V1 all over again. And I don't believe that we'll see another test net. Now, once again, we don't know. None of us know. We have to admit to ourselves that we don't know these things and be prepared for that no. But I hope to believe that this is the last test net. But once again, he makes a point because this is now really in reality, this is a V1.
Yeah,
so
it is. It is.
keep
I
that
agree.
in mind.
Yeah. Red Squirrel says, agree that another bridge is very risky, but the point is the dollar value is there.
Yes.
Oh, that's a good point. That would assign dollar values to everything. That's a great point.
Correct.
That's interesting. Let's see. Corey makes a great point. I think RH or someone is watching the big wallets that are selling and getting most of them out of the ecosystem before we go as well, and really not rush bringing Pulse to the market at the moment. I agree. And there's no reason to be in a rush. Like, the market's not turning around tomorrow. And yeah, there's no reason not to be patient.
And get the non-believers out. If these guys want to go and, do whatever else, listen, I'm not a maxi money. I mint Zen. I'm in the Pulse Bitcoin ecosystem.
How dare you, Corey? How dare you hold anything but hex?
Right. But he wants to get the people who don't believe in his ecosystem. Even though I play in other ecosystems, or I believe in the RH ecosystem. I believe in it, that it's going to do massive gains. I believe it's follows the fundamentals of crypto. It needs to be here, right? It's going to change the way we do crypto in many different layers. So get the non-believers out, man. Get the guys who hate him, the guys who fun him all the time, the guys who just man, there's so many of them too. We've seen it in this bear market. It brought everybody out. It brought them out, man.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Gamma's on. What's up, Gamma? Appreciate you tweeting out that stream today. That was good to see. I'd have missed it otherwise. So appreciate your help. Yeah, just 2 more weeks, like always.
2 more weeks.
He's
got a point.
Yep, absolutely. V3 is V1, but much better, battle hardened and audited code base, fully compatible with future EIPs. Absolutely.
Yep,
I think we're starting in a way better place than forking the BSC chain. And then let's end it here. I think this is an interesting point. We got to wrap up in 2 minutes before we have a couple of calls we got to jump on. I've heard this. I just don't. Why would Richard? I really don't understand it from a marketing perspective. The hype is largely, and I'm not going to say it's dead, but the hype is way died down since Richard first was talking about Pulsechain, and there were the sacrifices, and everybody thought mid-May. Like, the hype is down. Make no mistake about it. That's a fact. Why would you not want to rev that back up prior to launch? Why would you all of a sudden just say, oh, we're live, guys. Like, I suck at marketing, and I think that I just would go straight to mainnet and not tell anybody. Like, that just doesn't make any freaking sense. I couldn't disagree with this take any more strongly. I don't think that's likely. Once again, I'll eat a big freaking piece of humble pie if I'm wrong, because I certainly could be. I think the likelihood of this is extremely low. What do you think, Corey?
So two things to consider with this statement here. One, the only reason why he would do it is to prevent the big, massive sell-off of the buy the rumor, sell the news event. Like he's trying to avoid the buy the rumor, sell the news. That'd be the only kind of reason why he would want to do this. But you got to remember too, he's fucking a new chain now. There's a new code. He not only needs the developers to beat on this, he needs the community to beat on it. I'm going to beat on it. I'm going to have a party at my house, and we're all going to beat on it, right? Like let's get on there and test this. And I feel like Richard wants perfection. Why wouldn't he want to put this out to see if he could find any other bugs that him and his devs couldn't find before going live with mainnet? So we got to remember that. I really feel like the perfectionist that he is, he will launch a test net first. But there's the other side of like, oh, they don't want the big buy the rumor, sell the news. Sure, maybe.
But that's I think that pales in comparison to the benefit. And he said multiple times that he'd give notice and let us know in some respect. Now, he won't say a date and a time, I'm sure, but I would be shocked if we didn't get some sort of window. So once again, maybe a little bit of either
100%.
Piece of humble pie, but I just don't think that's accurate. We are freaking close. Absolutely super news. Appreciate you tuning in. So all you guys that tuned in today, we appreciate all you guys. In fact, this has been our most viewed stream. We had over 40 people at the height of this stream. So really appreciate your guys' comments and your commentary. That's what makes these shows great.
Smash these likes, and yeah, we enjoy doing it, guys. Thank you so much. We're going to keep pushing on there in this bloody bear market.
Absolutely. We will we'll see you guys tomorrow, and also make sure to tune in the show on Thursday where we have just Ask Jesse. We'll talk about Power City, the new liquidity fork for Pulsex. It's going to be awesome. So tune in.
And Monday,
guys.
Randy Holarski.
Yes, and Randy's show too. It'll be fun.
Oh.
So with that, have a great day, guys.